All right, up here with Chris, and we're gonna learn how to paint. So Chris is a master painter, so we're gonna learn this. All right. BattleTech.
Yep. Let's get into that. I'll see if I can go find your primer.
Cool, appreciate it.
Oh, you're right.
And some Blood Bowl building paint set. Oh, I got a paintbrush in here? Maybe not. Barnes & Noble discount, baby. Who's around here?
Because you're kind of incentivized to do things just to throw people. So maybe, yeah, I'll put it on here. Think about the first So what was the monkey last time I played? I was security, and security starts to take you. So I grabbed the artifact and pulled it on the guy. It felt really bad. Where would you start?
Yep, got a paintbrush. And some.
Yeah, I wanted it.
Actually smells like paint. Ah, thank you. Cool. Why did they put the promo thing on top? All right, 4, 8 pre-constructed minis. 4 from 2 teams, I'm sure. Not really sure at all. All right, where's the Alpha Strike stuff? Oh yeah, the Alpha Strike stuff is just the cards. Yeah. I think these are the 2 teams.
His third combat could be
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it's the main format, I think. Yeah, the same guys. Alpha Strike and the regular. All right. I'm in the game, baby. Primer, rulebook. House Leo. Chinese, Japanese, Laotian. What ocean? Laotian.
I hate to tell you, somebody went through like people right now.
Ice Storm mission. Got a whole little story right here. I wonder if I'm going to paint all of these today. He's got some Leviathan, new set of Warhammer. I forget what sets they are. Not Skaven, but I think it's the Zerg, basically. BRB.
Agreed. They do the one thing that they're good at doing.
Alright, then what factions is that in there?
So they have the Space Marines, which are there. And then we have the Tyranids, which are the bugs you see.
Yeah.
Those are some of the other ones. But if you look at the back of this, it'll show you
The stuff that's in the what they look like painted with that scheme.
Came out like this week or something, or
yeah, this comes. Well, it actually comes out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks
from today, or from yesterday.
I send them to you and say like paint them so you have them to.
Yeah. So if we order so many of them, they send us advanced free copies.
So I also wanted to start space.
All right, so let's get some gloves because this is the easiest way to do this. Priming with this number of models. Do you just want to do one or two? You want to do them all? Like, what are we trying to do?
Man, what you think is the best?
Also, what kind of colors are you trying to do? And are you trying to learn traditional painting, or do you want to learn like speed paint or contrast or things like that?
Speed.
Okay, so you have a paint set, which I really like that paint set.
Okay.
Actually, kind of like that entire kit because it comes with plastic glue and good clippers and a good brush. That's a great kit for building minis across the board. I like that. However, I have found that these guys take to speed paint or contrast paint like a dream.
Perfect.
So I might recommend that. Oh.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, cool. I'm going to show you how to zenithal highlight. How to zenithal, like we're going to prime it in black and then create a zenithal. Zenith being like the top of something. We're going to come out like from the top to the high points and create a lighter color so the recesses are shaded and pre-shaded. So that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to have a very translucent paint, put it over the top. It's going to look fantastic. Do you have a color you're looking for, like blue, green, red, brown, camo-ish? Like,
yeah, let's go camo-ish.
So you want like kind of like greenish brown, or like it depends on like because some people because in the setting, some of them are heraldically colored. So some are like all bright red, and some of them are crimson, and others are more of a green, vibrant green. Some are camo, some are more lived in. It just depends on how you want to do it for these kind of things. Like if you look here, like as I lift this out,
okay,
you'll see what I'm talking about. Like you see like the red and the gray, and as we flip through here, is this the right one? This is not the lore book. This is the lore book.
Yeah, reds and greens pretty good for me.
Because we have like the different factions. And like for instance, this is the DCMS. This is the Draconis Combine Military Service. So they're gonna be in reds.
Yeah, reds and greens good with me.
Yeah, cool. And like if you look here, like you have Comstar and all white, and Liao and green, and just, yeah. I mean, this is straight out of the '80s.
Oh yeah.
Like, just look at this stuff.
Totally radical.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start with these.
Right.
Pick 2 or 3 of these, and what you think look cool. I recommend like let's do that one. We do that one.
Yeah, that one.
And then
the third guy.
I think it'd be easier to paint these 3 real quick to show you.
Cool.
We can do this later.
Right.
Right. Can you do me a favor? I know you got a harness on. Can you move this over here for me?
Okay.
Hey Grant. Catch you next time.
See ya. Thanks for playing.
Bye.
Bye, Brandon.
Bye, Judd.
Bye, buddy. What y'all doing? Hey.
I'm teaching how to prime stuff.
Cool.
I hope he's actually recording that. It'd be fantastic. It's a terrible accent.
It's all going in.
Oh God, please don't. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start with black. Yay, black primer. We'll spray red out. It's fine. Now, so what you want to do is the hotter the day, the more likely it is going to dry as it comes out. Remember, these are spraying at a fairly high PSI, so you have to worry about one, it sprays very rapidly, so you never want to spray directly at something because it'll build up lots of layers very, very quickly. But the hotter it is, the further back you are, what happens is it's going to dry off. If you're too far back, it'll dry completely and just be blowing pigment powder at what you're spraying, and obviously nothing will get on there. If you're a little closer, you'll getting it wet, and then that powder is going to start adhesing to it, and you get that sandpaper texture. If you ever primed, you're like taking a rattle can or something, like deck furniture or whatever, probably spray painted it, it's got that gritty texture. That's why. The reason it has that gritty is because you're too far back from it when you're spraying.
Okay, you want to be pretty close, but not too close.
Yes. So we're going to start with Ye-Olden and Thunderbolt here.
Okay. Hold.
Big dumb durable mech.
You could also, I recommend gloves anyway, just to not paint on your hands, but stick them on a pill bottle or a tongue depressor.
Oh,
or
for sure.
Like that, so you have a handle.
Yeah, and if you're doing multiples at a time, I do recommend getting a stick and putting double-sided tape down, and you can ease multiple things to it, and then you can just do a line, turn it to a line, turn it to a line.
For primer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here, I'll show you real
I mean,
quick.
a handle helps
Two things.
for brush pinning too.
It does.
But
So 2 things we're gonna do real quick. We're gonna find where the wind is, because we don't want it to spray directly in our face.
Okay.
Obviously, it has a direction, so we're not gonna spray at ourselves. Okay, it's coming back a little bit, so we're gonna go down. All right. So we're gonna get a nice rattle. We're gonna start here, and we're gonna whip past it. We don't want to ever like stop and spray directly at it, because these are miniatures. The miniatures are going to diminish in quality the more paint layers you put on it. You're going to lose all that detail that you like from them because they're so small. And it's one of the reasons why we put the primer down, is so that it can help the paint adhese to it. Yeah, that's it. And we just let it dry. And it's hot enough in Arkansas and dry enough at the moment, even though the air is fairly humid. You'll see that it's almost completely dry already.
Oh yeah, it looks nice already.
Yeah. So if you want to hand me the other primer.
Ready. Army paint, gray sear.
Yep. So gray sear is going to help. It is a off-white, obviously in the gray tone, the cold hue. And instead of earlier, you saw me flip it over and spray the bottoms. We're not going to do that this time. We're going to stay mostly to the top and straight on.
Top and straight on.
And what it's going to do when we do that is we're going to create the shadow effect.
Nice.
Nice bright top surface and then nice dark recesses. And I will show you in a second exactly why that's valuable. So that's what we've done. We're going to do the same for the other two real quick.
Okay.
Please hold this for a second. I'm going to ask for it when I'm going to rotate it. We're just going to repeat what we just did one more time. Notice I am not stopping and spraying at it, so there's really fine detail. They'll clog up if you just spray layer after layer of paint into it.
See,
So I'm just
about 6 inches away.
Yep. Depending on if it's hotter, you pull back, or you pull in a little bit. If it's colder, you pull back a little bit. Because if you end up with too much moisture on it, also if it's too humid. If it's too humid, you'll end up with what we call pooling, where it'll start creating these drips, and then they'll harden as this drop of paint, resin, etc. mixed together. I was going to ask you that, and I just forgot I was actually handing it to you to ask for it. Thanks. Call me.
no problem.
Yeah. This looks interesting because I got a feel for it. And like you can tell immediately how much it pulls out the detail. It's one of the reasons why we use slightly nicer primers, is we don't lose any of that detail. So you can use auto primer and whatnot. The problem is the pigments on them tend to be much larger. And so it's a lot more finicky to try and apply safely without it filling in or building up and things like that. So you can go for cheaper products. And don't let anyone tell you can't. You can. You just have to know what you're doing to utilize them. And that's the big issue. Which is one of the things that I like about these and the GW ones and whatnot. You pay a pretty penny for them, but they do perform very well. And they lay really nice and clean to get nice texture. So like they don't diminish the texture or have to fight against the texture that you've created otherwise.
Army painter and Citadel.
See, I didn't tilt it all the way down. I tilted it like this so I can get it at an angle. This wind is really picking up and starting to prevent us from doing some of this. And from the top, I want to make sure I get a nice strong color on top, and then have it kind of fall into the recesses like that. See? Because we want the back to still have shades.
And there's a shadow.
Yep. Now, you can manually paint those on, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's something that a lot of people love to do, and it gives you more control to do so. But this is for the quick and dirty way, which I think these particular models really shine when treated like that. Oh yeah, that's gonna look great. Although, yeah.
Oh yeah. I see.
Okay. And then we just let those dry, and they'll be dry in a couple minutes. You also want to let them air out, because they're going to be fumy.
Okay. So, never prime inside, or?
Never prime inside unless you can help it, unless you have like a vent hood or a really well ventilated area. Because the chemicals that come off this stuff is super toxic. In fact, almost every single one of these should legally have disclaimers to be, don't keep it under a certain temperature so it doesn't explode, and don't spray indoors. Some of these chemicals are so volatile they can cause permanent brain damage.
Dang.
Yeah. Just ask anyone who's huffed paint.
Okay.
Yeah, it's bad.
But it's fun though. But don't do it though.
I'm sure. I'm not that guy, but I'm sure.
Yeah. Whip it.
You don't need to be shiny and chrome, I'm just saying.
Hey.
Alright, I think it's back into the
Shore, Arkansas.
Yeah. Thank you, Kyle.
Ready.
Yeah, these guys are already ready. Jesus Christ.
Already ready.
Thank you. I'm going to show you. Go grab some.
Well, 5, 7, 8, 9. His backup was stolen.
Ignore my rudimentary pallets. I haven't got to clean. We just did a whole demo earlier. But we don't need it to be super clean to do this. In fact, we just need to. We're just going to use a fair amount of this. You're like, what is that? This is Army Painters Speed Paint.
Okay.
It is pretty voodoo-metric. Fun stuff. We're going to take this nice big heavy wash brush. We're going to load it with paint. And we're going to, which one do we start with?
Let's go with this guy.
Alright, Shadowhawk it is. And we're literally just going to go in here and we're going to paint it on so too much. There we go. And we're just going to...
Blood red.
That's all we're going to do is just paint it on the panels. You're going to see how quickly...
And then, like, is this box for like 2 teams, or like is it all the same team, or?
I mean, so it is designed to build you 2 lances. Now, whether or not those are opposing lances or mix and match or whatever is 100% on you.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Okay.
Because it also comes, you notice, with standees.
Okay.
You know what standees are?
Just like a board game standee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed you did. I just want to be like, you don't know what a standee is? I don't want to be that guy. But notice, I'm literally just doing this. And I'm going to let you do it here in a second. But I am just applying this and letting it fall into the recesses and dry how it wants to dry.
And this is just the top layer, though.
I mean, like, there are many people that would use this. They might pick out some silvers, but they'll call this done.
Okay.
Because one of the nice things about speed paint, oh, you can go ahead.
It's gonna find the darker. It's gonna cool in the recesses. It'll be darker in the recesses because it's more
Concentrated.
And the bigger, flatter panels, it's gonna spread out. It's gonna be more transparent, so you'll get the light undercoat from that gray primer. And it's transparent enough that the black in the shadows that you get with the first can is still going to show up, and so you'll get some shading through the paint. Whereas if you went with just a regular red paint and did what he's doing, you would just kind of cover up all of your all the work you did.
You'd have to thin it out a lot, which would require you to do multiple layers, which is fine, but it is a laborious process, which some people love to do and other people despise.
Yeah, screw that. Let's go fast.
That's why you said speed paint, and I said, all right, we'll just speed paint.
It's free highlight and shadow, and you can come in and do whatever details you
want.
want.
Absolutely, and there's plenty of ways to make it look better once you're done. But I mean, like, we're going to be majority done with this model in maybe, what, 5 minutes? And it would normally take upwards of a few hours to get that. Otherwise,
it may not matter on those because the panels are so small. I've not painted any BattleTech before, but the best thing that you can do, I think, to make contrast and speed paint stuff look good is to not let it pool on flat surfaces because it'll make like tide marks and stuff. And then it won't look as natural. It won't look like you painted it the hard way.
Like that. We're picking off some of the other parts. You also got to make sure you're not missing anything. That is going to do just about do it. Obviously, if we miss any spots, we can go back with the paint. But we've been pretty liberal with our application so far. Sorry if I'm moving it too much. I know you're trying to get a good shot. But ultimately, like this is looking... Obviously, you want to rotate it and see if there's any other spots that you're missing and otherwise. But also with these kind of paints, you don't necessarily want to turn it upside down as much as you can. There you go.
Looks excellent.
Like, what was it, like 3 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah. And that is, like, we could do accents, do metallics, paint the canopy, and do everything else and be done with that model. Whereas before, I mean, I can show you how to do that with actual red paint and then a wash and then recess shading and then layers. And it would take, I mean, just on drying time, at least a couple hours.
A couple hours.
Because you got to put a really thin layer, and the thinner the layer, the more water is in it. With the less paint, however you want to look at that. And then when you've done that, it takes about anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes to dry. And once you have to let it to dry, then you put another thin layer on to get a better visual effect. So, like, you'll get better effects from traditional pan painting using multiple very thin layers. But that can take days. If you're really, really, I mean, but that's what artists do. I mean, it's like high end. That's what they're doing. I mean, but there's shortcuts to be had everywhere. But, like, for instance, if we took this red and started it, I could show you what this would look like as a base tone and then wash it with a shade wash, which essentially is what this is doing all in one, and then highlighting it and things like that. But I mean, once this dries, we could go back with a highlight tone or a brighter red and hit the panels if we wanted to. Another thing people do with this is they'll prime metallic, like a bright silver. So they'll do black and then do a bright silver over the top and put this over it, and it'll look like that candy apple, like gloss coat like you have on like race cars and stuff like that.
Nice. Candy paint.
I think race cars. I mean, like, people are racing them, not actual race cars. But, you know.
Okay.
No one actually races a candy apple or anything. Hot rods is the proper term. You are correct. Drink my totally not sponsored water.
Stop using the old art if they're gonna phase out the first one.
I know.
What's that helmet? I don't have that helmet in my kit. Yes, I guess the stern guards do, but which, like, I don't know. I appreciate the one stern guard.
I'm gonna say right now, if they cleaned up Mark 10 and added Mark 7 helmets to some of them, I'd be happy. I'd be like, all right, fine.
So here's my.
This is recording this time.
Oh, you good. Is that the first 10th edition product?
Yes.
Okay.
That's our preview edition. I've been building some of it.
My complaint is that I don't think that Primaris armor looks bad. Like, I think objectively
I think objectively it looks better.
Quite good.
And the proportions are infinitely better. However,
I think I've told you this.
I know, proportions matter most. I agree.
I don't give them credit for proportions because...
I get it. Hold on. There's something about that goofy disproportion that I actually find appreciative.
Personally, not that I prefer. I'm saying that they could have fixing the proportions is something they could have done without updating the armor.
That's what I was trying to get at. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
I don't give them credit for fixing the proportions when they could have just done it.
anyways.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking, like it kind of sucks that one decision made for corporate greed has had all what they maybe wouldn't have
Lore
done.
decisions and the things like that. Which possible.
And
The
like-
better
and-
Batman is the worst part
And
about
that
it.
they won't be like, that was a mistake that we made in the real world, so let's not let it affect our game.
Yes. We're just gonna retcon that away.
Right. But
So, do you like that red? We
Yeah,
can do
red
those.
is nice.
We can do those like that just as easily.
Man, let's do a green though.
So, I don't know what speed paints I have available.
For green.
Like I have a couple store used ones for my painting classes. I don't necessarily think I have a green. I have to wait which one.
Okay. Let's go with the red then.
I mean, I'd be like, hey, you can sell the green, but like, I've got greens out there. I just not just like I kind of hit my cap. I think it's small.
Okay.
Well, again, like, since you only want to
I mean, how much is the green?
It's like $4.
Yeah, let's get a green speed paint. Yeah.
maybe you've noticed, but on these speed paints they have three colors. So like that's going to be probably your darkest tone you're going to get from this, your mid tone, your high tone. Assuming that you're using, it's kind of assuming that you're using a Zenithal, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like you'll see the edge tone is going to be the highest point. It's going to be that one there. The flat tone is the mid tone, and the recess is the other. However, I am pushing those even further. It actually isn't expecting a zenithal; it's expecting a flat color.
White.
So me, or off white or whatever. So me pushing it. Also, I'm using gray rather than white, so it's not going to be quite as bright as the highest tone.
So you have to factor that in. But I guess my point is that if you're hunting for a color, I would pick it based on like the mid tone and not the darkest one, because it's probably not going to look like that all over the model. So if you wanted a dark, I mean that's a pretty dark red for sure. But
Although they have much darker red.
yeah, so if you wanted like a
Slaughter red looks really good.
yeah, like a really dark, like a maroon almost, you would want to pick one that had like the color you wanted in like mid tone.
Oh,
Generally speaking.
thank you.
So again, like I don't want to like dissuade you from doing anything. You have paints. We can use this so I can show you how to traditionally paint it and how to thin your paint and do that. And you can do a side by side of them if that's how you want to do that.
Yeah, because let's try to do that first with the green or something.
Okay, sure. That's easy enough. So the downside of this, we're gonna have to thin it out, and it's gonna look real bad at first.
Okay.
It's a process.
Yeah, you have to trust the process. If ever there's a circumstance where you're like, I trust the process, this is definitely one of them.
Trust the process.
You can have painted hundreds of miniatures
And still,
and feel like you're good at painting, and you'll put the base coat on without any shading or anything and go, that looks like shit.
the first coat looks terrible. All right, give me the green.
Right.
The Death War Forest.
If you work at a game store.
It's like I work here.
Or maybe this Earthshade will be better.
Well, Earthshade is essentially just going to be a. I mean, I'll show you what it looks like. So, Agrax Earthshade, I mean, I've got some open, so I don't have to open yours. Is a wash, or a shade wash as we refer to them as. And it is a real thin paint, like even thinner than the Army Painter ones. And ultimately, it is. So that's actually what makes the speed paint so special. Contrast works the same way. It is a kind of a chimeric paint. It mixes multiple types of paints together at the same time. So it has different heavier pigments and lighter pigments of different shades or hues. And so when you put this on, shades are designed to run into the recesses of the model, much like you see here, and then give you those darker intonations. This one also adds in essentially a dye, a bright shining dye, that stains this top coat as well, and then it synergizes with the shade as well. So it's kind of an all-in-one. And much like many things that are all-in-one, it has its limitations. But I'm more impressed with the recent ones in the past couple of years than a lot of the others. Now let's see if these are good. You know, that's actually in good shape. There's a lot of these that will sit on store shelves like that, and they're the mixed boxes like that, and they'll sit and sit and sit. And if they aren't sealed properly, or even if they are, they get heated in a truck. Like Barnes & Noble are particularly prone to this. Not that I'm casting aspersions on Barnes & Noble, just the nature of their warehousing and whatnot. The temperature control.
I always storytell it. Because I always storytell it. Because you agree which is entertaining because, you know, everything that's happening.
So we're grabbing a bunch of this. So this is base paint. It's going to be very thick
Sometimes people like to
at its
create
core.
those outlandish theories to
And we're going to have to thin it out.
and
We don't have to thin it out. We can put it straight on, and it might be the right consistency we're looking for. You know what I mean? But if we don't thin it out, we'll lose all our zenithal.
They like to think of it as convoluted.
It's a little thin, so I'm going to add a little extra.
And zenithal is what? Pigment or what is
So
it?
zenithal, it means, I mean, from the top. It's a zenith. The highest point. So that's what we did with that primer, is we did well, it's a faux zenithal. We took a black, and then we took from the zenith, from a high point, we sprayed the white on top. And so what we're looking here is a translucent effect. Yeah, there we go. I mean the Wolverine. That's the Wolverine. And I'll show you what this looks like. So we do this one, and it's not going to do anywhere near the same effect. And you'll see it's going to appear streaky at first because it doesn't have any of the chemical or physical properties of that other liquid. But it is now thin enough that I can apply it very roughly. Sorry, the lighting in this corner is not the best, I know. So I'm sure that's making it hell for you.
Oh man, good enough.
But you'll see, because we thinned this out, we're creating a facsimile effect. Similar to the other, but it's real anemic. You see how it's like mottled and we're losing some of the color? But that is intentional. I mean, it's not, but it's intentional enough because we're trying to have it so thin that it doesn't just completely cover up the other color. The white and the black underneath.
It's very easy to hide, and that makes it more interesting, and it makes it so...
Does everybody double prime or
No.
mostly?
Not everybody, but a lot of people do. I mean, it's a technique. So we could start with just black. If we started with just black, though, these colors would not read the way they do. One, you couldn't do the speed paint over black. I mean, you can do speed paint over black. It's a whole different animal. So this is me getting a quick base coat green color down. But you'll see the difference in how flat it is, even with the other color transitions underneath it.
Oh yeah.
It's like they understood everything wrong with the social election.
Like you see the difference.
Oh yeah.
Well, so the storyteller dies.
Hardly looks green. It looks more yellow.
The demon killed them and impaled them on the clock tower. And now you're trying to find out who the demons. Oh yeah, it can also
Can't see the recesses like that.
Yeah, you see how it covers it up and it doesn't really have it. And so that's what the shade wash is for. Once that dries, and again, because we used water and not a fast drying agent, which this one has, it's going to take 20, 30 minutes for it to get to that point where we can put more layers on. But if you're doing batch painting, you do like 5, 10 at a time. You can sit there, mix up enough of this, paint the base tones on, and then while they're curing, work on something else, or watch TV, or make yourself a sandwich, or do what else you're doing, your hobby time. And then when you're done, usually by the time the first one is dry, if you put your next layer of stuff on it, the next one will be dry, and the next one will be dry, this one will be dry. And if you do like 10 or 20 at a time, depending what you're doing for like speed painting, you can have it to where by the time I'm finishing with the last one, the first one is dry, and I can start on a new technique, work my way down, and then start again, work my way down, and then start again, and work my way down.
And how do you tell they're dry without touching them?
if you die as a minion,
That's a hell of a good question.
So there's some very interesting.
Ultimately, you have to learn what that looks like, and 2, you just have to
Touch them.
Yeah, you just gotta touch them. How do you know when your paints are dry without touching them?
Even if you're dead,
I don't touch them.
You just have enough faith, I guess.
45 minutes.
It depends on what I've used to thin it with. If there's any alcohol or any fast drying agent in there, like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, unless your paint is really thick or heavy, it's probably going to be dry enough to not like completely come off really quickly. But handling is a little bit different.
well, and again, there's reasons why because if you have a strong enough ability where you maybe you only tell like 1 or 2 people the truth and you lie to everyone.
I was just about to go. Fuck.
And maybe the 1 or 2 people you tell the truth to, you tell them to lie to everyone else for you. You pull them aside in the middle
I was gonna call you.
Oh yeah,
You wanna go
they're
to
fully incentivized to keep the circle of games played and talking. Oh, nice.
Yeah, see
Because if you only talk in that circle, like, it wouldn't be that hard. And you're not figuring out any information, right? Because if I'm like the strongest role in the game for finding the demon, and I need to tell everyone in the circle, I'm gonna get killed. So I'm incentivized to hide that and lie. And only have a certain people know truly lies to tell the wrong person. Right, maybe I told 3 emails. But there's also a minion who sees the entire hair marks, they see the entire game. So maybe I don't need to lie at all, because the evil team already knows everything. So you can figure out it's really straightforward. It's very simple. I'm going to basic involved. It's very simple. It's figuring out this person doesn't but one little piece of information that's so
Lunch here soon. I've kind of put it off.
Okay.
I was actually about to go to lunch when you showed up.
Okay.
And so I would have come back and had plenty of time to teach you. That being said, I'm going to have to run to go grab something on my lunch break.
Thanks for sticking around.
I'm really sorry that I don't have such time to teach you this stuff. But you see what I mean? But like, see how it's drying. And as it dries, it's getting thinner and thinner. You're starting to see the white stick through more and the black stick through more.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like, it just... But it'll look really pale and anemic, which is actually fine. We could probably take this and put a brown wash over it, and it looked fine. Or put a gloss wash over it, and it looked intentional. Yeah, fabricating intentionality is one of those things where you're like, people are like, oh, that looks great. And you're like, I just tried it. Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes it looks great, sometimes it doesn't.
Nice to know you were just messing around and it kind of worked out.
No one needs to know that you're the one just goofing off.
No one needs to know how many tries it took either.
Right, because I want to tell the difference is you saw how aqueous and wet and thin that is, right? Right? So if you do that, it is aqueous.
You're right. I'm just...
But like this is the actual paint, and you can see how textured it is, and how thick it is. Like so, we talk about like, is my paint thin enough? And that answer is a resounding no. If you're still seeing ridge marks on a smooth plastic surface, that's a problem. But if you add a little water to it, then you can apply much flatter, cleaner lines.
Multiple thin, even coats is always better than one really thick one that covers all the plastic.
2 thin coats. Although 2 is often not enough.
Speaking of 2 not being enough, working on the Lamenter's paint scheme, I like stress painted a model because I needed to be doing other stuff, but I did that instead. I had aspirations of doing this yellow ink, and I did one test model and came down here and bought a pot of Bad Sun's contrast.
Oh, I'm going to use this yellow ink. It'll be great.
I don't actually think the ink is that bad.
No, if you just spray it on an air gun, airbrush, you're going to have much better effect. I'm just telling you, that's where inks really shine.
But the Maybin Minis tutorial, he used a brush.
He did.
His stuff looked fine.
He did.
He's better at painting with
he
inks
is.
than I am.
That's what I was doing. Like his techniques are more better. People often forget that when watching YouTube videos. Is the people painting it have hundreds or thousands of hours of painting experience. That you're like, oh, that looks really simple, and it's really nice. I love the motivational factor of watching someone do it and go, oh, that's really simple. But it's like watching a chef on TV cook, and be like, oh, I can do that. I mean, you can with practice and effort and training, and I mean all these things. You can easily do that. Every human is capable of that. I mean, most in that regard. Like, but don't get super down when you try the exact same thing from your perspective, and then it looks like trash. And it's because there's subtle brush control things, and it's like music. It's very much like music in that regard. Like you learn to play the violin in school, and it's awful. Like you're not coordinated. You don't have the feel for the instrument, etc. Maybe the instrument's bad. Like all these things. But now you put hundreds of hours of practice into it. You learn to feel the instrument. Even a bad instrument can sound good in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, and it starts to become a much more cooperative process as opposed to a competitive one. Same thing works with your brushes. Sorry, wax philosophically.
Sounds good.
So what do you think about your model so far? I mean, like we slap real quick, go to the lead belcher on some of those metal parts because they really dry.
I'm liking that red one a lot more than the green one right now.
A little wet. Well, sure. If the problem is I gotta wait for this to dry a little more because you still see where it's wet in places and the recesses especially, because that's where I'm gonna want to put that brown wash over this. And it'll help pop. And unfortunately, I think we're about 10-15 minutes away from it being ready for anything. Sadly.
And you need to be going.
And I need to be going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go clog out. That being said, if I don't know what your plan is, but I'm going to run to Costco and get some stuff and then come back. Or just go to buy tea and be back in like half an hour. They're still here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good till 7, till close.
All right, well, I'm going to let them know.
All right, BRB.
You feel free to utilize it.
And I'm back. Yeah, while everybody's going to lunch, let me go ahead and try to do this one on my own with the green again. Let it sit for 30 minutes and dry. But yeah. Yeah, so this is about 20 minutes later. Yeah, looking way thinner than the speed painted one.
Okay, and the high normally that unilluminates this piece. Okay, so now it's my turn. Yes. I'm gonna move Emma to the left.
Oh yeah, that one's got nice contrast. You can see the black in there.
That's the one problem.
Yeah, but let's try to do the green on my own. Death World Forest. It is what I was using, yeah, that's the egg Rex, yeah.
And they're R10. Okay, so I'm going to draw 2 pads instead. Everybody okay with that? Check.
Yeah, so we're saying need to thin this out. A little dab will do you, I guess. Thin it out a bunch. How do you check it? Looking for no ridge marks. Oh. Got no idea if that's right. Yeah, but we'll go in anyway. Wow, big red dot there. But whatever.
And I say, I didn't know. And I heard a gate. Cool. Pick it up right over. And I'm ready for this to straight shot. And you need 2 pieces.
You need some more. Are we relaxed yet? The happy little trees. could go to sleep. It's so relaxing.
You can also and then I illuminate it. Then you would have to. Oh, yeah, you illuminate. So it's gonna burn tomorrow.
Yeah, looking a little blotchy.
It burns how you wait.
Maybe we need to thin it more. Yeah, let's thin it some more.
I'm not moving, so I'm moving on my door.
Remember, we get the move on flip.
You just can't see what's in front of us.
That just looks too thin.
Because we're all close enough together. Oh, you don't have to illuminate anything.
Way too thin.
You literally just have to make it.
No, I never did this still.
Eldritch Bomb. Hybrid tile. You don't have to illuminate anything also. Yeah.
And then why don't you go ahead and mark it down?
I don't have any more.
I thought you had one. Okay. Why would you buy it?
Yeah, dip it back in there.
Next turn.
So, Andre, you staying in front of me? Al staying in front of me.
Gotta thin it.
Move.
How much?
Turn the ones at the top.
Sounds good to me.
Turn them all over.
You burn. I burn. We have how many? None. So we round.
But you can see it. She can see everything.
Yeah, she can hear. Oh, we're all
only,
over.
yeah, you can only see the one that you're on.
So she have to redraw that
So
one?
this one goes away, right?
Yeah, everything goes away except the 2 tiles.
I think I'm preferring the speed paints.
Oh. But you have a nerd, so all you have to do is connect, and we're out.
You have to pick a direction and then you draw a tile.
Yeah, what do
We'll
we
draw out of this bag.
Hold on, is that from this place?
Score an additional limited tile anywhere on board.
So we split it up.
We did. But okay. Pick a direction, draw a tile from the bag, and I mean, really.
Get in there. Yeah, yeah.
Into the board.
Out of the board.
More into the back of the
Void level 2.
I'm just the expert.
Well, you know, things getting on there.
That's the final boss.
That's the, if you see that wrong.
It's Exodia.
If you see that, you're dead.
Hard pass for me.
So you can hit by Exodia.
Put all the tiles in one, like the halfway tiles in one, and then let's put the monsters and the corner pieces of the
Yeah, thinning it so much, I'm gonna have to keep on going back. Okay, drop some on there. A little bit of water.
How many gates are there in total?
Clean it up.
The other pieces that aren't, that will be used for
And I'm going in.
I think that's it. I don't know how many gates there were in total.
Too thick.
Baby bag of nerves.
Too think we're going with it anyway.
Ever seen Three Drop Snakes?
A little more water.
They go into the boys' dance and some Italian mafiosos killed his boss / father figures. So he comes back for the Italian guys and takes them playing poker in their dining room table. And one guy's got 2 of them held at the gunpoint, and the other guy is dead. And the Italian guy's like, he doesn't have balls, he was cuts. And some guys, that's what you do.
Took us 2 hours.
But it's fine. It says it's about a 15-minute gain, and if you do all the rules, it like goes faster.
It took us like an hour and change to play it.
That's true.
But that's the fun of having a new game.
That was pretty fun.
You want to play again?
My heart kind of sank when I read.
Drew monsters.
When we went to flickering and there was one gap between her. Like, there's no way we come this far.
I mean, there could have been a screw up though, because it was drawn from the paths file, so there could you could only connect.
Okay. Am I getting everything?
No, you have to stretch. Yeah, I missed.
It says ages 14 and up.
I'm 11.
Could you imagine trying to explain to somebody that's like,
Feeling like this is bad, but good enough.
I'm trying to explain it to higher. I think Alice.
Whoa, wrong side.
You want me to just throw these away?
Yeah, didn't get that part at all. Okay. Now, how does this stack up to the one Chris painted? And this was still wet, but man, don't look too bad.
That's actually kind of fun. Oh, maybe that's usually fun. It's like,
Missed that spot on the knee. All right, looks good to me. All right, let it dry in. BRB. I'm just waiting around doing nothing, waiting for this stuff to dry and Master Painter to get back. So let's Master Teacher to get back. So let's go read the story. BattleTech Ice Storm by William H. Keith. A Kobe Commandos mission. All right, BattleTech Ice Storm. William H. Keith. All right, this guy was written in 2018. All right, Trent Golandrinus, Lion, Commonwealth, April 8th, 2990. Blake's Teeth. Durant Carlisle swore over the wind thundering against the building's ferrocrete exterior. Okay, $50 word there. Is the weather on this dirt ball always this crappy? It's a Draken eyeball world, mister. And the other man at the bar said, what'd you expect? The storms kind of come with the territory, you know? The bar patron called himself Jocko and said he was a miner with the Vickers Mining Company, but Carlisle had some doubts. The man's bare arms were covered with tattoos, skulls, skeletons, and dragons. For the most part, and he had the hard-edged look of a combat vet. Those scars on his face, it could have come from a mining accident, sure, but I ain't finna sit up and read this. But yeah, that's how it starts off though. The dude's in a mine. All right, BRB. Screw it, let's read the first page at least. Carlisle was in a ramshackle pub appropriately called the Howling Wind, a dome-shaped structure like most of the other buildings in the huddled clump of misery that went by the name of Trent. The planet was named Goblins, an ugly little rock ball orbiting a cool Type M7 red dwarf out near the periphery, close to its diminutive sun. With a year lasting just 9 days, Goblins was tightly locked with its primary, with one side forever facing the star, the other frozen beneath an eternity bitterly cold night. Much of the night side was glaciated from space. That hemisphere by starlight took on the ghostly aspect of an immense eyeball staring up into the void. Sure, Durant replied. The planet's atmosphere gets hot on the day side, real hot. Warm air expands, moves over into the night side. I imagine the storms get pretty fierce. And you don't know the half of it, Jocko said. A big ice storm can blow for days, with winds screeching through at over 150 clicks per hour. Ice storm, Durant's brow furrowed. Like an eye of a hurricane, Jocko laughed. Hell, Minister, the planet rotates too slowly for a real Coriolis storm. Nah, every now and then the local star flares and smacks the day side with a major heat load. The air expands and comes roaring across the twilight zone and out into the night. My mistake, Durant said. Chagrined, he picked up the glass of scotch he'd ordered a few minutes ago and downed it. The smoky heat burning its way down the gullet. Drake. Damn it, he needed to focus. You were telling me, he said, about the Death Guild. You say they're coming back to Trent. Actually, the guy hadn't said, but he had been drinking hard. Carlisle was prompting him, trying to get him to slip. Oh, they'll be back, boyo, Jocko said. He slugged down another glass of whatever he was drinking, and it'll be soon. They'll come fast, they'll come hard, and they'll come wrapped up in the storm, so you'll never see them coming. Same way they wiped out the local militias when they grounded here a month ago. What you gonna do to stop them, man? I guess it depends on how many battle mechs Dubois has to throw at us. Oh, he has mechs, plenty of mechs. Heavy too. Jocko swayed back a bit and dropped one arm against the counter to stay upright. Why, when his companies touched down on this filthy rock, I tell you, he mopped the deck with the local militia. He grinned, and not that was any great feat. And that grin seemed damn suspicious. Anyway, like I said, Jocko went on, you should think about signing up some more mech warriors, you know. Don't know how many battle mechs you have online, but I know a Union class dropship like yours doesn't haul more than one company, right? You'll need to beef up your reserves. You asking to sign up? Shoot me, I told you. I'm a miner, not a mech warrior. He belched loudly, put his glass down, and turned. Excuse me, gotta drain the coolant tank. Alright, there's enough of that. 2 pages. That's all I got. 4 pages.
What do you think?
We back. Yeah, that was nice.
So they'll fall when new.
Oh yeah. I put this on too thick, right? I put this on too thick, right?
Well, just a little thicker than I probably would have, but it looks fine. It looks fine. Especially with the effect you're looking for. And then we're just going to throw a washer in here. I'm gonna use mine so you don't have to use yours, but yeah, it's just Agrex. So we're gonna put a heavy.
That's that Agrex we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's already somewhat mixed up over here. There we go. We're gonna take this. One, you gotta actually clean these brushes. You gotta like that is how you rinse a brush.
Okay.
Like, if you do anything else than that, like you're just putting in water. Because when you pull a draw like that, it should be clear.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm going to take some of that, and we're going to drop it in here. And then what we're going to do is just... Well, just kind of...
That's for like the camo effect, or?
I mean, it is, but it's mostly just to... So, you know how the other one fit in the recesses? You see how it's already popping those recesses?
Yeah.
Like, this is designed to run into those shaded areas to create an artificial sensation of shade and grime and wear.
And then how would you do blood?
Well, if I want to put blood on these, I mean, one of these guys are like 50 feet tall, so like, I don't know how much blood I'd put on it, probably its feet at best.
Okay.
But.
And these are what scale?
Huh?
These are what scale, or?
I don't know the actual scale, because I think they're actually not even technically to scale with each other.
Okay.
They're artistically scaled for the environment, for the setting, rather. But you'll see. Hold on one second. And then I'm going to do this. And then we're just going to let that dry. But you'll see real quickly how it creates all that definition, like between the fingers there, that was just not there before.
Okay.
And it's pooling, so you just wick it off like that. Pull off excess. See where it pools up like that? You just touch it with the brush and it just comes right out. Yeah. You put it on heavy and then you just clean it up, and then yeah, we're just gonna let it dry. But now compare that while it dries. Also, when doing with washes, wherever you lift the brush is where you're going to create a spot. So I keep that in mind. There you go. Let me check out this washes.
Ooh, looking fancy.
Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, got it. Now, would you wash the speed painted one like that too?
Mm-hmm.
Would you wash the speed painted one like that
Generally,
too?
I don't really have a need to wash the speed paint one. Like, not specifically. Because, I mean, I could do it on the speed paint one and create a darker effect. Although for the speed paint one, if I did wash it, I'd only want to put it in certain areas to create the grime effect, which is ultimately what's happening here.
Okay.
Here. Oh, I shouldn't have left that in there like that. But you'll see here at the bottom of the miniature, we're starting to get these where it's building up like that. We're just going to take that and tap that just to pull it off the...
Y'all go to a lot of conventions, Game Goblins?
We used to. I don't know if we've done that much lately. It used to be kind of something we did fairly regularly. We haven't done it in a while. In the great before four. Oh yeah. But you see how those two layers, and even now, I have to go back and dry brush a highlight to get kind of the three different tones that I have over here.
Yeah.
So, like, you can do the same thing. You have more control doing it this way.
Okay.
But you see how much faster it was to do this in one coat and call it a done. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we're not done, but you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But now, we are at a position where we could... Nope. Take something like this. And something like this, and start creating things like this on this already.
That's just a fine brush? Or?
Yeah, and I'm just applying a metallic.
That's a Death World Forest? Or?
No. Oh, why is that still open? That should have been closed ages ago. Did you leave that open? Did I leave that open?
No, that was me. Yeah. Making that second one.
Yeah, I got you. This is lead belcher.
Lead belcher.
And we're just applying a very thin layer of it as part of the cannon. You can also go through and do it like this. Hold on, there we go. Just applying it. God damn it. It's also we're just creating some metallic framing. This is real thinned out paint. But ultimately what it lets us do is create that visual of metallic interaction.
I'll probably have some lead belcher too, right?
I think you do. Yeah. The one I'm using is just a little thinner, but yeah, you got it right here. Always these have been sitting for a while, shake the crap out of them.
Okay.
You always want to shake them. But yeah, see, you'll see the difference in coverage, how much thicker this one is. But it'll cover a lot faster. That's actually too much. There we go. We're going to hone that a little. But see how metallic it became very quickly.
Yeah.
See where that was really thin and how much starker that is. And so just little details like doing this little hand here, little laser there. You find out where anything else is, a little pip there, and yeah, it didn't take much to suddenly make it look much more lived in.
Oh yeah.
You can see on this one ahead of time before we wash it. Like here, we do it in here, here. Now normally I'd palette this up and then, you know, have it going. Oh, this is the bigger one. I'm just going to continue using your thicker one. Also create a false lip to make it look like gun casing across the top here.
You ever listen to painting podcasts?
Do you ever listen to one?
Painting podcasts?
Painting podcasts, not particularly. I'm sure there's some great ones out there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not something I hunt down, although I do occasionally watch paint. Although I watch a lot of painting YouTubes, which is not terribly different. Obviously the visual medium is separate.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys on there that have podcasts that also do that.
Yeah. Who do you favor?
Well, there's a couple of different ones. I mean, obviously there's Vince Vitarella.
Oh yeah, I watch them guys.
Like
They have a podcast, don't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure anybody who's got that level of social media presence has a lot. Juan Hidalgo is another fantastic painter on YouTube that I recommend people like look at. He does a lot with these kinds of, like these army painters, or not army painters, specifically for first contrast, but higher level contrast paints and things like that. So we're going to do this, and I'm actually going to make this a little metallic here, just to give it a little more pop, like that. So we're gonna let that dry. Yeah. And then we're gonna let that dry. So right now I'm just doing real basic stuff. I'm not trying to do crazy. I'm trying to teach techniques that I think you could replicate. Like, not just you, but anyone could just replicate very casually. So you see right here how grungy.
Oh yeah.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to let that dry, and then once it's dry, you'll probably go back with your original Deathworld Forest paint, and then we'll touch up and highlight. We may desaturate that Deathworld Forest with a little, maybe not white or an off-white, like Olfin Gray, and then create a highlight tone, much like we have here on the edges. The difference is this one does a lot of edge highlighting for us without us having to actually edge highlight. Like, it creates a lot of definition, these nice high lines. It's real hard to see at this angle. It's one of the things that really pops in person. That's really difficult on cameras, especially phone cameras, unfortunately. But you see what I'm talking about? Looks pretty good.
Oh.
In fact, now that this is a little drier, or more dry, I believe is the proper, whatever. I can go through here and apply some of this wash. To the metallic. Hopefully it's dry enough.
Just making it look more real.
That's the goal. One lived in, although I did just, it wasn't completely dry and I just rubbed it off. That's easy enough to fix. That's what I get for being impatient, because we're so close to closing. I was like, you know what, I'll just do it real fast. 100% on
13 minutes.
100% on me in that regard. My apologies. Also, some of this is reactivating a little bit. It's one of the downsides about these paints. They fixed it in the later batches, but some of these are not the most ideal for that. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna let that dry. There you go. You got 3 guys that are mostly done. We got some metallics picked out. I'm gonna wash this guy when we're done. And then, yeah.
Good stuff.
This guy's still drying, but I'm going to very quickly and dirtily throw on some metallics where he is mostly dry. To at least give the illusion that he was painted properly.
You preferring the 10th edition or the 9th?
Well, it's brand new, and so there's always an inherent bias towards the new shiny thing. That's a part of the human condition. But I would say that I really appreciate the simplified function of 10th edition. 9th edition was really good, but it had, well, it was okay, but it had lots of problems in the fact that it was very laboriously rules layered.
Just the stratagems, or just the stratagems?
Well, you have like a million stratagems. You have 36 plus per faction, not to mention sub-faction stratagems or possible awkward additions therein. You also had layers of rules from alternate books that allowed you to have access to certain other things. And as of now, just the simple fact of rebooting it minimizes that, but also what they've restricted it to is also minimized that as well. So I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air in that regard.
At least for now.
Again, what I said, for now.
For now.
It's most decidedly not, you know, a one and done solution.
You play BattleTech too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I prefer, unfortunately, I prefer the, I say unfortunately, just because a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do love it. The old school classic BattleTech, especially Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike's fun, quick and dirty. Will you close that pot and make sure it's perfectly sealed? This one here, next to your So that's not properly closed. Yeah,
Yeah.
It'll dry out if you don't make sure it's double sealed like that.
Oh yeah.
Give me these. Can you grab these?
Oh yeah.
You're going away with it.
Okay.
That one goes right there.
Okay.
I'm going to put this one over here.
Austin O still work here? Austin O?
I don't know. I know he was working. He stopped working here, and he started working for the company. I don't know if he still works.
Conway?
Yeah, I don't think he works at Conway. I don't know. He was doing some. He was in school, working on accounting.
Okay.
And I don't know if he went back to that or if he started doing some other things. So I don't quite remember.
Yeah, it's hadn't seen him in a while. Ian?
Ian has moved on.
Okay.
Don't want to steal that of yours. These are yours. That is yours. That's mine. That's mine. Where are your other paints? Was that not full when you got it?
Yeah, fool. No.
Oh, these are my.
Supposed to come with 1,
How many?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8, 9, 10.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, just
Oh,
weird
okay.
like that. Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't like, walking off your shit.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
So there we go.
Right.
Hopefully that helped.
Oh yeah, a bunch.
I didn't get to show you how to like build and paint stuff because you didn't have anything to build.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much okay, unless this had something to build in it. Nope.
Blood Bowl is good for people who don't like sports.
Blood Bowl's fun. Blood Bowl is it's like a fantasy football kind of thing. It's like in the classic sense of fantasy football. It's not in the proper sense.
Same as Blitz Bowl, right?
Blitz Bowl is shorthand Blood Bowl, yeah. So Blood Bowl is like American football with D6s, and you beat the shit out of each other. You're playing fantasy races like orcs and goblins and ogres and tree elves and all kinds of stuff like that. What else? Blitz Bowl is like, what if we took that, trimmed down the rules, and made it a lot faster and cleaner?
Skirmish.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is the skirmish versions of Blitz Bowl, which is kind of funny because Blitz Bowl is kind of anyways, a sporting game. So it's like, what if we had, it is the NBA Jam to basketball.
Okay.
Blitz Bowl is to, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played NBA Jam? Maybe old ancient games from yore with like 2-on-2 basketball.
Back in 4th grade in the arcade at Lady Luck Casino.
They still had a bunch of stand-ups. That's why I use that reference, because I remember that game.
Oh, yeah. He's on fire.
So,
These good to just dump in there?
I would let them sit for just a bit.
Okay.
And then, yeah, they'll be fine.
Okay.
This guy's going to be unwashed, shaded. So these are essentially going to be in the same spot where this guy has not been shaded, this guy has been. And then this guy has been, just done. But feel free to come back next week and we'll walk you through some more stuff.
Y'all do every week? Or?
I do it every week. So
Okay.
I do Warhammer 40k the first week, Warhammer Age of Sigmar the second week. I do Star Wars Legion third week, and then the fourth week I usually do Kill Team or Middle Earth strategy battle game. There's been a lot of interest in that lately, so got Lord of the Rings interest.
Okay. Man, now I can just paint like 4 of them red and 4 of them green.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which ones.
All today. I mean, like ultimately, like it doesn't matter realistically. I mean, there's a weight class issue, right? You have 2 heavy mechs. You have an assault mech and a. I guess technically it also is a light assault. You have 2 skirmish mechs, and you have 4 mediums. Like these are all. Although it's a heavy. These are all mediums. These 2 are mediums. It depends on the catapult. Like you do something like. Roughly balanced. I mean, like not. I mean, like there's a whole balancing thing. It depends on how many points they are. Like if you did, for instance, this, you go cool. So over here we have Battlemaster, Thunderbolt, Catapult, Wolverine, Shadowhawk, Commando, Locust. Where's the awesome? On the back side?
Things on the back. Well. Well, maybe not.
It's on the back of one of these, I guarantee it. So one of these. Yeah, something like this. Weirdly. So these are roughly equivalent. And then these are roughly equivalent, for this one being slightly better. And then...
Because of the points?
Yeah. And so you can run it like that. I mean, there's variants where you can change the point total. But, like, that's... Yeah. Yep. And just kind of, like, do it like that. Where this is on both of these. Because that's the awesome. That's the awesome. I don't know why this is on the same card. I hate it. But... those are roughly balanced. If you're gonna take a picture of that, like that's probably what I would do.
Okay. These guys green, these guys red.
If that's what you want to do, yeah, it'll give you two different forces. But I mean, you can paint them up however you would like to.
Damn, they gray see is like $20.
Oh, you get that spray primer. Nice. It is a nice primer. It's really quite expensive. I mean, this is like 15, 16 now. So.
Like the stuff from Walmart, just not great.
I mean, if you are going to use one from there, I don't necessarily recommend it. As a new painter, I wouldn't necessarily use like the blue tricolor nonsense one. If you are going to use one in good conscience, I would recommend the Rust-Oleum Paint and Primer Plus. It's got a big 2 on it.
Yeah, like I got one kind of black one at the house.
Say for plastic, but yeah, anything other than that, I wouldn't recommend it. Some of those are not designed for plastics; they're more like auto primers, and there's chemicals in it that will eat through your plastic models that you spray.
Oh man!
So you want to make sure that you have very specific types of, paints or plastic safe primers.
Gray sear.
That's just a color.
Okay.
All their stuff named after stuff in their lore.
Okay.
Whereas it's just matte black. Like their black is called Chaos Black. Or Abaddon Black. Depending on which one it is. So. Cool. And at that note, it's about time to say bye to you. So here we go.
About that time. It's been real.